If you've been following along with our series on navigation, you know that part of it is learning how to use a basic compass. Part of it might be learning how to navigate by the stars or read a topographical map. But part of it is also learning how far you've come along the journey. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So the next chance you get when you might have a snow day or a cold blustery day outside and it's perfect to come inside and find something to do with your hands, this is the project for you. Everybody in the family can get involved, which is pretty fun. But this is going to become so handy later when you put it into use. Today we're making ranger beads or pace count beads. You might know them by another name, but we're going to make a very simple little tool here that's going to help you a lot in the days to come. So stay with us. So there's about 3 parts to this, and let me walk you through them. First, we're going to go through the ingredients that you need for this very simple little project. Secondly, we're going to talk about how to make ranger beads or pace count beads. And thirdly, we're going to talk about how to use them, which is pretty important. So stay with us all the way to the finish line on this. And let's get started right now with just the few ingredients you need to make this wonderful little tool. All right, so the very first thing that I'm going to want to get a hold of is some good paracord. This is 550 paracord, and this is warrior cord. It's my favorite. At least right now it is. Maybe tomorrow I'll find something better, but I've got a hank of 550 weight paracord, and this is easy to take apart, and that's kind of what you want. If you get the really cheap kind, you're going to notice it's really hard to gut it, which is taking all the innards out of it, but this kind is wonderful. So this is warrior cord we'll be using today. You'll just want to get some good quality 550 pound paracord. That's what I would suggest. All right. Nextly, you're going to want some beads. Now, you notice I've got some really pretty beads, and if you've watched our video on ingenuity, you're going to hear us talk more about that later. But you'll want to find multiple ways to make pace count beads. The easiest one, though, is really these little black ones that you see. They're very, very common at craft stores, and I think they're called pony beads. I'm not exactly sure why, and one of you can write in and tell me exactly why they're called pony beads. Maybe for your ponytail or for your horse mane or something, I don't know. But you'll want to get these at Walmart or a craft store, or probably even the dollar store. This is the perfect size because you see the hole is just big enough that it's going to fit a double width of this paracord once we've got it gutted. So that's kind of why we've chosen the pony beads. You need beads that are going to fit very tightly to the cord that you're going to choose to use. So whatever you end up using, you'll want to have beads that go through a double section of your cord but are fitting very, very tightly. Nextly, you're going to want some sort of way to cut the paracord, and you can use your scissors or a knife. I've got a Leatherman here that's great to use for that. And then finally, you're going to want to have either a candle or a lighter or some way to burn off just the ends of that cord so that we can seal them up. We don't want them frayed like this one is. We'll want to seal them up here as soon as we've got it made. So now that we've got all the ingredients we need, let's go ahead and get started on our project. So the first thing we're going to do is get about a 40-inch section, just to be safe, of the paracord. And you can see this has got a bunch of strands inside. If it's frayed on the end, or yours might, if it's brand new, may have a end that's already sealed off, that's okay. But just loosely, let's just kind of guess. What I'm wanting is I'm going to be folding it back on itself, and I want it to be, maybe as much as 18 inches long once I get it folded back. The very first time you're playing with this project, you might make it extra big because you'll kind of know how to do it in the future, and you can make it smaller and more compact, sort of like this little one that I made earlier. All right, but I'm just going to roughly say, hey, yeah, that looks like about 40 inches. I'm going to cut this off, and then it comes, and just so you know, you can do that with a knife or scissors or whatever you've got. You can set your paracord aside, and now we get to gut this. It's pretty easy to. You're going to notice that the outside is just kind of like a little tube, and inside there should be anywhere between 5 and 8 strands of something or other, and we just want to get our hands gripped onto that right quick. Just the inside, but all of the inside. And we're going to start pulling on it, and you're going to notice, oh wow, it slips out really simple and clean and easy. And once we pull all that out, whoop, there it is. Now The paracord is officially kind of an empty hollow tube, and it kind of even holds its shape a little bit for us. But now let's see, we've got, it looks like about 7 cords inside this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 in there anyway. Hold on to this because we're going to use it again. And in the future, you might find you use this for all sorts of stuff. We'll have a different video on that, but people use it from everything from cordage for traps, cordage for fishing. But today we still need it for a little bit of this project. So I'm going to just fold it up and put it over here to the side where we'll use it again. All right, now we're going to take our cord and we're going to fold it in half, just like you see here. And once I've got it folded in half, I'm just going to take the 2 ends there that should be even with each other and make a simple overhand knot. That's just where you just kind of loop it through itself one time and pull it down tight. I think all of us can do that, right? Now, when we're done here, we'll go ahead and burn those off so that they're nice and sealed up. But for right now, we're going to take our loop that we've got and we're going to put some beads on it. So this is where this comes in handy. We're going to take one of these strands of the innards. I don't know the exact scientific term, but this is really satiny type thread that's very, very slick, and it makes it perfect for us stringing those beads on. If we were to just take this by itself and try to force the bead down over that loop, it'd be kind of difficult. But if I take this and I weed it through there, see how I'm doing that? It makes this wonderful little slick surface for that bead to slide right on there. And now you can see that kind of up close. See how that is? All right, now let's put some beads on. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put 9 beads on there, and I'll explain why here in just a minute. But I get this together and I take one of those little pony beads we got from the craft store, remember? And we're gonna slide it over the end of that. I'm going to put it down here, and it's going to, be just a little bit tight. We want it tight. If it's tight, that's a good sign, but it's going to slide right over on top of that. Now, if you're a quickie, you can easily put all 9 of them on pretty much at the same time. So let me go ahead and get the others on there. There's bead number 2. Ooh. Bead number 3. Number 4. Number 5. My ends of this are getting just a little bit frayed. I could either cut them again, which probably is the best thing to do. If I just cut them, they keep nice and tight so they're not fraying out. Let's see, how many have we got? 5. So let's go with 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, now follow with me. You can see I've got 9 beads on there. I'm just going to slide them all down onto this paracord, and that has been so useful for making it easy. I'm going to slide these all the way down to that lowest knot that we made. See how I'm doing that? So let's just slide the whole batch of them down there. And now, because this is a pace count, we're going to need a little bit of slack before we tie our next knot. So see where I'm grabbing it right here is about where I want the next knot to be. So there's plenty of room for those beads to slide up. Kind of lets us count those later. So I'm going to take out our fancy little white thread that was helping us. And again, I'm just making one simple overhand knot in that. Now, the first time you're tying the knots, you want to kind of be a little bit loose on them, because usually, almost every time I make these, I'm thankful that at the end I've made them loose so that I can kind of readjust them higher or lower until I get it just the way I want it. But for right now, we'll tie it about there. Got it? And now, above that knot, we need 4 more beads. So here we go. We're going to use our same little white thread that was so helpful before. I'm going to go ahead and thread 4 more beads on there. And we'll talk about why 9 and then 4 here in just a minute. But here's number 2, number 3, and number 4. This is so much fun. This project is. It really is great to do if you have company over that needs something to do, or a rainy day, or children present. It's just fun for everybody to get involved because everybody needs their own set of pace count beads. So now you see I have slipped on, whoops, I've slipped on 4 more beads right above that. And now we want room for those to slide too. So I'm going to go ahead and put a knot somewhere up above that as well. Got it? So we slip out our white cord. We don't need it anymore. We're all done with that. And now I'm just going to make another easy knot right there. Pull that tight. And literally at this point we have finished the project with the only exception of just burning off those ends. Now, this is going to be silly to you maybe, but I burned myself so many times with this silliness that I have learned that if I have my Leatherman tool or some sort of pliers nearby, this is what I end up kind of pinching them off with. I burn them in the fire, and while it's still melty, if I touch it with my hand, it just holds the heat too much and burns my hand like crazy. I did it just this morning again and laughed at myself because I never seemed to learn the lesson. So I grabbed my Leatherman tool, and you just kind of pinch it shut. Since they're both little hollow tubes, it's if you don't pinch them shut, they tend to just burn but still be hollow. So I'm going to go ahead and light them on fire here real quick and get them kind of melted. All right, and now I'm just going to wait for just a second so they kind of have a chance. And then I'm going to just kind of squeeze them with this because I do not want my hand to get burned. All right, I think I got it pretty good. And there's a little bit of excess there, so I'm going to go ahead and trim that with the scissors. And now we've got nice hard little end on that that's not going to be compromised. For us to use these effectively, we need to first start by learning exactly how many paces it takes for us each one to walk 100 meters. Now, you can measure that off exactly perfectly in your backyard, or for me it was easiest to go down to your local jogging track where they might have, like at the high school where they have the 100 meters marked on the track itself. For each one of us it's different. And what you do is you start at the starting line and you just count each time your left foot hits the ground. So I'm going to count off just once every time my left foot hits the ground. All right? I walk it off, and once I have hit 100 meters, I recognize for myself personally, my number is about 72 to 73. For each of us, it's something different. So measure out for yourself, and keep in mind that as you grow older or have different circumstances in your life, maybe weight changes and things, your pace count is not going to stay the same. So if you haven't measured in a while, it might be worth your time to go ahead and measure again to just see how many counts it is for you. A lot of people will even take and write right on here, or they'll put some little mark on there for themselves that tells them 72 is my number. Now, once you've learned exactly how many paces for you it takes to go 100 meters, you're going to attach this to either your bag or your jacket zipper or something where it's very simple and easy to get to. Some people put it on their belt loop hanging down. But you're going to walk your first 100 meters. And for me, again, this just as an example, it's 72 paces. So as I take my 72nd pace, I go ahead and move this up, showing that I have just walked my first 100 meters. So I've walked my first 100 meters, and then I walk another 100. And once I count those off, I move that up, and that marks the second 100. There's 300, 400 meters, 5, 6, 7, 800, 900 meters. And once I've walked that, here is the one that marks the 1,000 meters. So once I have counted up my first 1,000, I go ahead and reset these down and start counting again, 100, 200, 300, and so forth, until I've come to my second 1,000, and move them up and reset the bottom. And I can do that all the way up to 5,000 meters with this one pace counter bead set. I love that it gives you that, and it helps you know how far you've come. It gives you a reference point so that you don't get lost. And you'll want to just keep this very close and want to keep making sure that you stay counting your paces as you go. If you stop counting, kind of nullifies the whole business of this. Let me also say this. This is one way to do it. Here's another way. You notice this is a single strand with tighter beads that just work perfect on one single strand, but it's the same concept. 4 beads up here, 9 down below. And some women like to do sparkly beads. Some men put skulls on theirs. You can get as creative as you want. But if you've watched our video on ingenuity, this is where I want you to think through this. You can get as creative as you need to be in the event that you are stranded somewhere and you've got to walk home and you need to make your own pace count beads, but you don't have all these supplies right with you and it's not that easy. Think outside the box. How can you mark either on a stick or with your shoelaces or, you know, a marker that you might have on your person that you can make little marks on your hand or something, but think outside the box of now that you know how to use pace count beads, it allows you to come up with the same kind of concept if you were stranded and you needed to get home and needed to count how far you've come so you know. Especially this is handy in the dark. If you ever have to walk at night, which is what you need to do in the event of an emergency where everybody else is traveling in the day and you might need to travel at night, pace count beads are invaluable in a situation like that because you cannot see behind you how far you've come. But just as an example, I'm wearing this necklace right now, and this is made out of leather, but I noticed when my mother gave it to me here this past Christmas that it had tight-fitting beads that slide very tight on it. Easily, I could make this into a pace counter bead set and no one would ever even know it. I just would be wearing it or something similar to this, but as long as you have some sort of cordage that can have something slide on it with tightness like this does, you can make your own bead count set without anybody even knowing that's what they're seeing. Many people wear them on their wrist as a bracelet and it just looks like a pretty beaded bracelet. So think outside the box, come up with your creative way to do it. It does not have to look like this at all. This is just the most traditional style that you'll see, and it is very handy because of this loop on the top. I can easily put a kind of a slip knot loop right onto my backpack or a zipper pull or belt or whatever it is that I need to put it on. So now you know how to make ranger beads or pace count beads. Will you take the time to share this video with someone who might enjoy it? And if you would like and share and subscribe and all those things that we always say, it helps us so much when we hear from you because it's such an encouragement to know that these are of value to someone. Until we see you on the next video, God bless you. Keep watching. We've got a lot more coming. In fact, one of the ones coming up that I'm very excited about is how to navigate by the stars. So you'll want to be watching for that one in the coming weeks. All right, until then, God bless you. Have a great day. Hey, before you go, I want to share with you a quick word of scripture. This is out of Psalm 62, verses 1 and 2. It says, "For God alone my soul waits in silence. From Him comes my salvation. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I will not be greatly shaken." Now, be strong, seek God's wisdom, and let's meet at the banquet table and swap adventure stories.